Eating local is one way to reduce our carbon footprint, since locally grown food and produce would have a lower transportation requirement and thus produce less greenhouse gases. But how do our local produce fare against those from countries like Australia, Indonesia and China? In this episode on sustainable eating, we find out as we pit our locally grown vegetables and eggs against their foreign counterparts.
Oh my god, see, it's very juicy!
Leading the taste test is our food editor Xue, who's joined by Fang Lin, the founder of plant-based brand Loaded Gun Kitchen, and Alex from modern Asian restaurant Avenue 87. They will be trying raw spinach and kale, blanched xiao bai cai and kailan, and hard-boiled eggs. Each category will have a local sample, with the other two from overseas. First up, spinach from the USA, Singapore and Australia.
Appearance-wise, A did not make the cut for appearance.
B is very interesting. I mean, commonly in kitchen we use number C as our salad or even stir-fried spinach.
It's very fresh.
I would say B is quite interesting for me.
Yeah, I like the flavour. It actually tastes of spinach. The other two are like,
The judges scored based on taste and texture. The spinach from Singapore was on par with Australia. A is the USA. B is Singapore.
Yay!
Oh, B is Singapore, okay.
And C is Australia.
Okay, it makes sense because B really tastes like a by-the-book kind of spinach.
It's super fibrous.
I think this A is going to be my lowest score for this.
Even though the judges think that A is fibrous, but on like the flip side, I think like the structure would make it great for like a salad.
Singapore fared surprisingly well for kale, beating Australia and just narrowly behind the USA.
C is Singapore.
And then C is Singapore. So your
Good for
standard model answer, kale, is from Singapore.
So weird, right? That you were saying that
Yeah, I thought like Singapore would know nothing about growing kale, but apparently we know a lot.
Yeah.
No, this round is a bit hard.
They all taste the same.
B doesn't taste.
B stands out.
B stands out, right?
Singapore, however, didn't fare as well in the leafy greens xiao bai cai and kailan. Indonesia came up tops in kailan, beating Singapore and China. Last up on the taste test are eggs, which were hard-boiled. In this category were cage-free eggs from Australia, eggs from Malaysia, and Seng Chun's golden corn eggs from Singapore.
B, surprisingly the egg yolk is really center of the egg. Have a very nice, rich flavor to it.
I like B.
Oh, you too?
Yeah, the color. I like the texture of the yolk. Texture of the yolk and the texture of the white. Because usually the white kind of is tough, but this one is really nice and springy.
I really enjoyed B. I scored it the highest. The yolk was the most velvety and custardy out of all the three. Looks-wise, it looked the best as well. Like when you set the plates down, immediately it stood out.
Well, since everybody likes B best, maybe I'll tell you what B is first.
Okay.
Okay. B is Singapore! Yay!
Wonderful! Okay.
So, Singapore came up tops in eggs and fared just as well as the top kale and spinach from the USA and Australia.
For us, chef, I mean, I do fine dining and we are constantly looking for what Japanese eggs, those top range, free range egg, but we have it in Singapore and we didn't know about it, I say. So that really blew my mind.
I came with the understanding that I do know different countries have different favorable conditions for growing certain vegetables, but didn't quite understand, maybe in Indonesia for the kailan really surprised me. I've never seen kailan with such thick stems.
As usual with taste tests, I never expect there to be wildly differing tastes for the same vegetable from different countries, but I always get proven wrong. There are really interesting variations in the taste and the texture. I'm not surprised about eggs because our egg industry is really, 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 really sophisticated. I'm pretty sure Singapore supplies a significant amount of the eggs that are used every day. So it's one of the more sophisticated agri-businesses in Singapore. So I'm not surprised that they would have been upping their game all this time.
So actually now that we've learned how much of a difference each of these species or each of these country's produce can be, do you think that, local versus foreign is a consideration that will run through your head now when you think of what you're using in your own kitchen?
Well, I would use it just because of the safety aspect, and also because I know reliably that it's not going to be too bad. It's not, and it depends on what I cook as well. But if a Singapore version is available, that's what I would pick.
Taste is king and flavor is king at the end of the day, especially to like a very discerning Singapore palate. But like generally awareness about the whole sustainability landscape is, I think, increasing, and Singapore is doing it in very innovative ways. Like, for example, like farm to table dining, like knowing that the food on your plate is grown from the farm outside. So experiencing that firsthand.
I will really explore local produce. I mean, I will maybe get in contact with some of the local farmers and probably get some sample and try it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I do work with the local farm like Ahua Kelong and stuff like that, but I think with the vegetables and all, it's quite promising.
Doing its part to educate the public on growing their own food, Edible Garden City received the DBS Foundation Social Enterprise Grant in 2017 and continues to redefine the urban agriculture scene here. So Sarah, with the government's vision 30 by 30 to grow 30% of our nutritional needs by 2030 within Singapore itself, how does Edible Garden City fit into that equation, and what are some of the things you're doing to sort of help this plan?
So we really think this 30 by 30 goal is great. It's a great step forward and a great goal that we can collectively work together towards. For EGC, the most direct way we are contributing is, of course, we grow all this produce and we supply it to chefs as well as to home cooks through our subscription vegetable box. But we're also helping in other indirect ways because we believe that, it shouldn't just be top down, because we as Singaporeans, we can do our part as well. So we do a lot of education, getting people to learn how to maintain their own home gardens, as well as edible landscaping. So we go into homes, businesses to try and set up edible gardens for them. We're also promoting varieties that are heritage and that are native locally. So for instance, things like sayur manis, Brazilian spinach, ulam raja, all these varieties our grandparents have been using and eating. And even when I was younger, if we go to the Zita store, we can find a dish like that. But these days, it's forgotten. So we're trying to bring back these varieties to kind of spur their interest in varieties that can be grown in our natural climate. Therefore, you can grow it, in your corridor, in your backyard, and that can lower the barrier of entry to having Singaporeans grow their own vegetables.
Over the past 4 weeks, I've learnt a lot about what grows in Singapore, from mussels in Ao Kelong to hundreds of varieties of mint. I've also had the opportunity to meet many individuals and businesses who are doing their part to protect our environment. But most of all, I've learnt that living and eating sustainably boils down to our simple everyday choices. So let's make the right ones. The DBS Live More Bank Less Sustainable Lifestyle site looks into the issue of food waste. You can find how-tos, life hacks and quizzes to help you live more sustainably.